the return to physical media is not necessary. A lot of people may look at the new internet DRM nonsense that can remotely erase people's medias and all that sort of thing as being this bad thing, and the only way out of it being the return back to physical media. Since back when a person who owns an optical media and can hold that in their hands, it wasn't possible for some external entity to remotely erase those sorts of things, then that should be the way to do things. But I would disagree with that because, well, I mean, fundamentally, the physical media, it's just the media. It's just the physical container that the digital data is in. It is still digital data. It is still just a stream of numbers like any digital information. It doesn't matter what the format is. Inherently, it's kind of irrelevant, really. And fundamentally, that's my argument, but I will be elaborating further and explaining things in this speech. But that's the fundamental stance, in that the media formats are just media. They're just the physical media that contains the numbers. It's those numbers that matter. And any device that can interpret those numbers from the media. Those are the two things that matter. So yeah, it doesn't really matter whether you have a stream of PCM audio on a CD, a compact disc, or whether you have it on, even on a magnetic tape. You could have digital audio. Typically people wouldn't do that, they would have analog audio on a magnetic tape, but it's possible just as well to have digital data on a magnetic tape. You could encode digital data in any format, really. I mean, I suppose it's technically possible, although it might be difficult to decode because of the timings and such. I mean, even vinyl records, I imagine, could theoretically be used to store digital information as well, but the timings and such would perhaps be difficult, but it's possible, I suppose. So really, it's the information itself and the kind of media device that reads the information that's relevant. And it's not just a physical device, but if it's encoded in a lossy codec, the decoder codec as well, that would count as the device that plays it. So whether you have a physical device or a software program on your computer that decodes the information from the media, I'll treat those as the same thing. Those are the two things that matter. Because really, it's just numbers. So, do we need to go back to physical media? Well, no, not really, because you might as well have your files on a hard drive. Why do you need a CD or a DVD when you can just as well have those audio files as FLAC files on your computer's hard drive, or whatever movie files DVDs have? So, I mean, really, that's the argument. It really is the issue of the DRM that gets in the way. So, when there is a corporation that can remotely, over the internet, erase someone's copies of media, it's not because it wasn't physical that they can be deleted. Now, of course, physical media cannot be deleted, so in a sense the physical media would guarantee that it can be remotely erased. So in that sense it might be a good idea, but it's not an inherent flaw. It's just the connectivity to the internet connectivity of a computer just gives the opportunity for that to be done, but it's not inherently necessary. So all you need to do is really just get your content from sources that don't put such DRM on your system. It really is the DRM that's the problem. The DRM, that's some internet connecting software that phones home, as they say, and asks for commands and instructions from some external entity on what to do to your system. It's DRM that's the problem, and software that connects to your connects to the internet. And specifically proprietary software too as well, because if it were free Libre software, then the users could modify the software in such a way where it doesn't have any more malicious features, because they would have been removed. If a company adds malicious features to a free Libre software program, the users, the community, can remove those features. Even the community members who are not programmers themselves, they can just have someone else in their community make those changes who is a programmer, and then benefit from those changes. That's what software freedom provides. So really, the main issues are the fact that it connects to the internet and the fact that it's proprietary. So specifically, the single issue the single core change that would be necessary to make to get rid of all of the bad things that the companies can do to the people is just to make all the software be free Libre. Because if the software was free Libre, the people could have power over the software. This way the companies wouldn't have power over the software. And the software is what has power over the media. So when a DRM on your system prevents you from doing whatever you want with the software, with the media, or when the software decides to remotely, or rather when the software decides to delete the files on your computer because some external entity sent a command to your system across the internet, that's a problem with that software acting maliciously against you. That's not a problem with your computer having an internet connection and you storing your files there. You can have a computer that has all of your media files on it on a hard drive without it being necessary that a corporation somewhere can remotely access your computer. The problem is proprietary software. If we get rid of proprietary software, the companies lose power over you, because you as the user, when you run software, if it's proprietary, you don't have control over that software. That's what it is. You lose the control. You give it up to someone else, to those companies who have the power now over your software. And since that software has power over the media you have on your system, the company has power over the media you own. Not because your computer connects to the internet, but because you run proprietary software. Stop running proprietary software. The proprietary software is the problem. Return to physical media is not necessary. It's utterly irrelevant, really. What we need to do is abolish proprietary software. The people who would advocate for the return to physical media are missing the point. They seem to fail to grasp, to understand the core issue here, the issue of proprietary software. The user does not have power over their computer when they run proprietary software. The computer acts maliciously because the user cannot control it. The companies can remotely control your software, hence your computer, because you run proprietary software. Because proprietary software is not controlled by the user. So if you don't want someone to remotely erase the content you have on your system, don't run proprietary software. Proprietary software gives the power to someone else, not to you, the user. What you need to do is use free Libre software. Software that grants the user the 4 essential freedoms. Freedom number 0, to use the program as the user wishes. Freedom number 1, to study and change the source code. Freedom number 2, to distribute exact copies of the software. And freedom number 3, to distribute modified versions of the software. Those are the 4 essential freedoms. If the software gives you those freedoms, you have the ability to change the software in such a way where if the software first spies on you and delays your files and all kinds of other nonsense like that, then you can go into the source code and modify the behavior in such a way where it doesn't do that anymore. As well as to have someone else in your community make those changes for you in case you are not a programmer. If you personally do not understand the source code, you cannot modify the software. Someone else in your community will, and they can make the changes for you. And this community can of course be any arbitrary community. It doesn't have to be any specific thing, anyone, anywhere. Because everyone has the right to share the software, that means that anyone can make the changes and distribute them to anyone. So everyone benefits. Even the ones who are not programmers get to benefit from the changes made. And thus the people have freedom, and they have power over their own computing devices. We don't need to return back to physical media, because physical media sucks. Really, it just sucks. Take optical media, for example. If you have a CD, a compact disc, and you accidentally touch it or scratch it or something else like that, it's gonna get ruined. It's just not gonna work anymore. That's optical media, it's just difficult to deal with. So, why should we go back to physical media? Physical media doesn't really serve much of a purpose. Now, it's not like for those who like physical media, they shouldn't be allowed to use it. Of course, not that. But the return to physical media is not necessary in general, because the problem we have with the DRM, the internet connectivity nonsense, it can be solved by getting rid of proprietary software. You can have your files on a computer. It doesn't need to be on a physical disk. So if you have music, you can just as well have a FLAC file on your computer. It doesn't need to be on a compact disk. You can just as well own that copy of the FLAC file on your hard drive. No one can remotely erase it from you unless you run proprietary software on your computer that's effectively malware. I mean, if you run malicious software on your computer that deletes your files, that's kind of your fault, isn't it? So, what we need is not to return to physical media. What we need is to abolish proprietary software, because proprietary software is what gets in the way. Proprietary software is malware. Proprietary software is what deletes your files against your will. Proprietary software is what spies on you. Proprietary software is what restricts you from doing with the media what you wish. Proprietary software is the problem here. Proprietary software phones home and asks for instructions from some external entity on what to do against you. Proprietary software is the problem. If you were running free Libre software, you can remove the malicious functionality, or someone else in your community, and then the software wouldn't have any malicious features anymore. They can be removed. The users have the control. So yeah, get rid of proprietary software. We need software freedom. So that's what we need. We need the liberation of cyberspace. We need to have it so that a person can sit down on their computer and use their computer and do all their computing in freedom, not encounter anything proprietary. No need for proprietary software. That's the problem here, proprietary software. DRM exists because of proprietary software. Right. So I think that's it for this speech. Thanks for listening. Until next time, bye.